Sweet. So are you okay with us sharing this recording of your story publicly?
Absolutely.
Sweet. Can you or anyone that you may mention in your story face legal prosecution due to anything that you share in your story?
No.
Sweet. You're pinned, bro. It's all you.
All right. My name's Charlie. I'm a drug addict. The last time I ever put any mood altering substance into my body was October 21st, 2009. I On that day, just like everybody at OL, when I come into these situations, I want to be real clear. Like, I have people that I have people in my life that did a lot more crazy shit than me. I had people in my life that didn't do as much crazy shit as I did. But the thing that brought me to the chairs of AA is the exact same thing that I share. I share the same thing with every other person that has a chair in the rooms of AA, and that's that I reached a point in my life where I needed to change. I couldn't do it on my own, and and so so I chose a softer and easier way of life. But so I essentially I share that with everybody that's listening to this. If you're in recovery. Um, I was pretty crazy. I was using substances that I had. Had to deal with a lot of withdrawals when I was coming off of the substances that I was on, and I had a pretty expensive daily habit. I just want to also say that um, I grew up. I'm from Mississippi, and I grew up poor. We couldn't even afford the O and the R when I was growing up, and so my it wasn't that my parents chose not to give me money. It's that my parents never had money to give me, and so in order to support the habit that I had to to do things that I you know I had to do things that went against who I am as an individual. I sold drugs. I stole. I lied, cheated, manipulated, all that shit. And so I did this every day, and then it led to me being homeless, and I was squatting in this house out in the country, and I was getting dope from a I was getting dope from my same place in the city, which was about 15 or 20 minutes away. And every morning when I'm squatting in this house, um, I would get in my car, and my car had. All right, y'all go inside. My car had a windshield wiper that was curled up. It had a spider web windshield on it, and that was from like nodding out and hitting a mailbox one night. And then I had a dummy tire on the driver's back tire, and it had a bent rim from hitting potholes. And so I had to stop about every maybe 20 miles and get air in my tire. And so I knew all of the different places to get air that I could get air for free because I never had any money. I mean, I never wanted to spend my money on air, and so I had to stop consistently at these random places to get free air all the way along back into the city. And so then I would get what I needed for the day, well, the first part of the day, and then I would go sit on my dad's couch. And my dad's disabled. My dad's he gets he's schizophrenic, and so I would end up going and sitting on his couch and just hanging out with him. And then I'd go to work. I worked 7 days a week. I worked anywhere from 8 to 15 hours a day, 7 days a week, and I was homeless. I was homeless, and I was unable to ever pay for my own food. I had to steal food, and so it's important to note that my dad that I was going and just kind of sitting on his couch, occasionally taking a shower. He's sober. He's been sober for about 30 years now. So I grew up quite literally in the rooms of AA. When I tell you, like, I had to go like ride my bike up to the clubhouse to go see my dad and ask him if I could spend the night with little Johnny. Right? Like, I grew up in the rooms. And I also want to say that if you're from Jackson, Mississippi, and your last name is Osborne, and my name is Charlie Osborne, if your last name is Osborne, you're from Jackson, Mississippi, you're either dead from addiction, you're either in active addiction, or you're either in recovery. That's really our only three options for being an Osborne in Mississippi. And so I grew up in that environment, and my dad knew that what was going on with me, and he allowed me to sit on his couch every day. So anyway, to bring it back, I'm going to work on the last day that I chose to, well, a couple days before my sobriety day. I was going to work, and I got real up, and then I had to go to work, so I tried to get real down, and then try to level it out. And I was working in an open kitchen, and all that means is that I'm cooking food in the middle of a restaurant, and everybody can see me cooking food who's in the restaurant. It was a Friday night rush, and I died. I died. And when I came to, I was in the hospital, and they had ended up having to pull the cart, gurney, whatever the fuck it is. They had to pull it into the restaurant. They had to move tables. Friday night rush, super embarrassing for the restaurant owners. And so they take me to the hospital. And now again, I'm homeless, so I got like my garbage bag full of clothes sitting on top of one of the refrigerators in the kitchen. And I called him up and I said, "Hey, listen, my wallet and my clothes are on this refrigerator in this garbage bag. Make sure nobody gets that shit." And they were like, "Okay, that's fine. We'll make sure nobody gets it, but you're fired." And I was like, "Oh my God, you pieces of shit. I can't believe you would do this to me. I'm in the hospital and you're going to fire me." Always the perpetual victim. It was never me. It was never my fault. I was never able to hold myself accountable. It was always somebody else's shit. And so in this moment, I called my dad and I said, Daddy, can you believe these motherfuckers calling me? They're firing me. I'm in the hospital and they're firing me. And my dad said, he said, I don't want you to come by my house anymore. I don't want you to call me. We can't keep doing this game. You're cut off till you get 6 months clean, period. I can't do this anymore. And I was like, "You fucking son of a bitch, you're just like them, blah, 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 blah." And so I left the hospital. I went back and my mom was at the hospital. My mom was like, "Hey, listen, here's the deal. If I can get you into treatment, will you go?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure, whatever, Mom." And in my mind, I'm thinking, there's no fucking way she can get me into treatment because my mom has less money than me, and I got like fucking $2.83 to my name. And so she takes me to this house. I go to the house. She takes me back to my car. I go to this house that I'm squatting at, and then the next morning she comes to that house that I was squatting at, and she was like, "All right, let's go. Get your fucking garbage bag full of clothes and let's go." And I was like, "Go where?" And she was like, "Let's go get you into treatment." And I was like, "What are you talking about?" And so she takes me to do the intake, and I do the intake, and they're like, "All right, we can get you in the next day." And so I was like, "How is this happening?" And listen, listen. I just want to be real clear about something. If wherever you are in your spiritual journey, that's cool with me. If it's working for you, that's cool with me. But I'm going to kind of share a little bit about my spiritual journey. And so I just want you to understand, like, this is where I am. But if it's not where you are, then I'm super cool with that shit. But so the next day, my mom took me into treatment, and I like met up with some people, and I had one last little shebang, and then I'm going into treatment, right? I go into detox. I get into treatment for 30 days for free. And I want to be real clear about something. This is God doing for me what I was completely unable to do for myself. And this was this first experience that I had with my higher power doing for me what I could not do for myself. And so I go into treatment, and I was doing so much. I was doing so much when I went into detox, that, and even the first 2 weeks of treatment, I was doing so much that the withdrawals were really, really, really bad. and my eyes would shake in my eye sockets, and I couldn't ever really focus on anything. And it's probably because I couldn't sleep, and I was in a bad mental health place. And so I kept telling these people, these counselors, and the clinical director of the facility that I was in, I was like, what's the hook? What's the catch? Like, why are you doing this for me? And they're like, no catch, man. It's just, we have indigent beds at the beginning of every month. If you're homeless, you need help, and you're willing, we can throw you a bed. It's just the way it works. And I'm like, all right. But I'm still on guard, because the way that I grew up and the life I've been living, there was always going to be a catch. There was always a hook. There was nothing in the world for free. And so I'm constantly looking for that shit. And so I go for 30 days. Well, because I was so kind of not really present mentally for that first 2 weeks, almost 3 weeks, they looked at me coming up when I was getting closer to leaving, and they were like, hey, listen, we want you to stay another 60 days. And I was like, I fucking knew it. I knew it. There it is. How much? Go ahead. How much? And they were like, no, for free. And I'm like, what? And they were like, for free. We want to hook you up with another 30 days, with another 60 days. Okay, so at the time, I had nowhere to go. And my car, that was just a fucking bucket of shit before I went in there, had somehow or another, my family had done some shit with it. And it didn't exist anymore. It was gone. So I didn't have a car. I didn't have a place to live. I didn't have shit. And so in my mind, I'm thinking, and I want to be real clear about this, because in early recovery, I think sometimes we feel ashamed to say this out loud, but I want everybody to know, like, it's normal to feel what I'm about to say. In that first like 30, 45, 90 days, the only thing I wanted to do was get my habit down to a $20 a day habit. That was it. If I could just take how much I was spending and knock it down to $20 a day, I'd be fine. I'd be fine. And that was my goal. And I didn't have anywhere to go. And so I said, well, I'm not really there yet. So I'll do the 60 with y'all, right? Okay. Somewhere along the way in treatment, I was working with this cat named Nicholas TW, and he's still like, it's funny, I'm still in touch with this therapist, and I still talk about, like, somehow or another, he ended up saving my life along the way. And so the thing is, I really struggled with being able to forgive myself. I had introduced a lot of people to multiple types of drugs, the needle, and a lot of women in my life. And the problem was, like, now at this point, I've had friends die from overdoses. I've had people put in prisons. I've had girls who turned to prostitution to support their habits, and all of these things. And so I was holding on to this as like I'm personally responsible, and I am unredeemable. I am beyond forgiveness. I am a piece of shit, and I need to die. I need to die addicted. And so, because I'm no good. And so I had a real hard time forgiving myself. So this guy, Nick Tooze, he helped me figure out that how to forgive myself. And we can go into all that shit on a whole different segment, because I only got 25 minutes right now. But my point is, at some point in that 90 days, I started thinking, okay, I want to do this. I'm going to take this sobriety thing out for a test drive and see what the fuck's up with it. And so what happened was, I was talking to Nick one day, and I was like, how can I stay sober? He said, look, dude, be of service as much as you can. And you can't go wrong with that shit. And I was like, well, you're of service. You help people every day. I said, and you make a paycheck doing it. I was like, I'm going to do what you do. And I was like, what's your title? And he was like, I'm a licensed clinical social worker. And I said, okay, I'm gonna do that. And I was like, are you hiring? And he was like, you need a degree, bro. And I was like, all right, well, where'd you go to school? And he was like, University of Southern Mississippi. I was like, all right, well, I'm gonna do it. And so, little bit of time passed, and he said, hey, listen, I'm gonna hook you up with this program. It's called Voc Rehab, Vocational Rehabilitation Services, Voc Rehab. He said, I'm gonna hook you up with Voc Rehab, and they're gonna put you in this transitional living house, and it's going to be, you'll get 2 months of free rent. They have a van there, and they'll take you to and from work and to and from meetings. And they have a cafeteria in there, and they're going to feed you 3 meals a day. I was like, fucking sold, dude. For free? Fucking sold, dude. And so I go and I do it. And he said, the best thing is, the best case is, the best part of this is that it's in Hattiesburg, Mississippi, which is where that school is. And I was like, all right, cool. So I go to this transitional living. I ended up staying, he was like, we got to stay another 2 weeks because they don't have a bed open. So I ended up in primary for about 115 days. Oh, it was 25 more days. So I ended up in primary for 115 days. Loved it. Wouldn't trade it for the world. And so then I go to this transitional living. It's called Oak Arbor. I'm in Oak Arbor. I'm doing the van and the meals and I go to, side note. So when I was in active addiction, I had this hustle that I would go into college. I would file for FAFSA, and then I would take my classes, and I would withdraw. I would get a check, and then I would withdraw from just enough so that I could maintain getting a check. And I had this game play that I would play with the government and getting money, and I would blow that FAFSA check, which would be probably like $3,000 to $5,000. I'd blow it in like a day. And okay, so I'm doing that, and the problem is I have this this extremely large debt with various schools all over the country, 3 different schools to be precise. And so I go into USM and I said, hey, I want to enroll, and they said you have to produce your official transcripts. And so I call up these other schools, and they're like, you owe us this, you owe us this, and you owe us this. And I was like, and I went back to that lady in admissions department at USM, and I said, I don't have $4,800. It was $4,800. I don't have $4,800, and my parents are gonna fucking laugh at me if I ask them for $4,800. Like I don't have anybody in my life that has this money. I said, I'm sorry to have wasted your time, but I just wanted to let you know that that's the reason I'm not coming back with my official transcripts. She was like, listen, I'm gonna do this for you, and I don't normally do this for people, but for some reason, I want to do this for you. And she said, I'm going to let you enroll in school on your unofficial transcripts for 1 semester. 1 semester. And she said, you're going to get a financial aid check. If you take that financial aid check and you dump it on your fines or your whatever the other schools say I owe them, then you'll get your official transcripts next semester. And then she said, but let me be clear. If you don't show up next semester with your official transcripts, it's it. You wasted your semester. And I was like, bet. And she goes, and she said, but here's the warning. It means that you're not going to be able to spend your financial aid check on housing, books, and all that shit. And what she doesn't know is I've been blowing that financial aid check on drugs within a day for the past 10 fucking years of my life. Like, I was like, I got that. Don't worry about that. And so I did that. Okay, let me be clear about something. This right here is just yet another example of God, my higher power doing for me in my life what I'm unable to do for myself. And my higher power works through other people. And this right here changed my entire life. So I go to school. I go back to school and I get a bunch of prerequisites done. And I did what she said. I paid off my debts. I brought back the official transcripts next semester. I keep going and I'm killing it. And I'm killing it because I'm going to tell you something about people in recovery. We have so much energy that we use to get high, to get drunk. We have so much energy that we use when we're funneling in this daily energy into lying, cheating, manipulating, obtaining, using, recovering from using, all of the stuff that takes all this energy. When we no longer put it towards that, we have all this energy to do really good shit. And if we can learn how to focus that energy on really good shit, we are unstoppable. We are the best employees. We're the best students. We're the best people you want on your fucking team, down the board, hands down. That's a fact. So I did that, and I funneled all my energy towards school, towards progress, and I was so fucking active in recovery. I mean, not only was I working 40 hours a week, and doing school 12 hours a semester, but I was also making, dude, if I was making 2 meetings a day, but if not 2 meetings, then I damn sure was making 1 meeting for at least the first fucking 9 months of my recovery. And And so, and getting a sponsor, working with a sponsor, working steps, but having a home group, being of service, all that shit, I'm doing it, I'm living it. And not only that, but like, so I'm doing all this, and the grades are going good, school's going good. And so I get into the social work program, right? And so I work my ass off. I end up graduating with a bachelor's degree in social work. And so you remember, I grew up with nothing. And so I get a bachelor's degree in social work, and these agencies like CPS, which I don't know if it's DHS here, but or whatever it is, the baby snatchers, right? Which they're really not. I'm being an asshole by saying that. It's a joke. It's a social worker joke, but it's like the organization that that you call if somebody's abusing your kids or some shit like that. I think it's CPS here, but they're offering me a job, and they're saying, dude, you can work with a bachelor's degree in social work, and we'll give you $30,000 a year. And I'm thinking, dude, $30,000 a year is more money than I ever thought I would fucking make in 1,000 fucking lifetimes. Hell yeah, I'm gonna take it. I'm fucking done. Yes, I'll take it. And then the people that ran the social work department were like, dude, don't take that shit. They're like, look, get a master's degree and you'll make more. I'm like, a fucking master's degree is 2 years away. These motherfuckers are telling me that they'll give me $30,000 tomorrow. And so they were like, look, I hear what you're saying, but we want you to get a master's degree. So we're going to pay your tuition, and we're going to give you a $800 a month stipend, and we're going to make you what's called a graduate assistant. Just fucking stay with us and get a master's degree. And I was like, okay, I'll do it. So I go into the master's program at USM. I get a master's degree. All right. And I make all fucking A's too, by the way. And so, and I do all these internships, and I'm killing it with like this program. And I meet this woman, and her name is Sophie, and she's an amazing woman. And when we meet each other, we were like, look, I said, listen, I'm going to tell you some boundaries that I have in my life. If I'm going to date you, I need you to know, like, I want kids. That's it. That's all I want. I want you to know that. And if you don't want kids, then you probably need to not be with me, because I want kids. And she was like, oh, I want kids. And I said, okay, well, I'm getting old, because I fucked off for a long time. So we're talking like, I need kids. Like, we need to be trying for kids in like 5 years kind of thing. And she was like, deal. Okay, so we're dating. And then I end up graduating with a master's degree, and we move up to Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and go Birds, by the way. But I end up moving up to Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and we're there for a while. And she tells me, on my 6-year anniversary, when I got 6 years, we were walking around the streets after dinner that night. She says, listen, she says, I'm sorry to tell you this, but I don't want kids. And I've been putting off telling you. I don't know what to do, but I don't think we should be together. I know you want kids. And so I ended up, tail tucked between my legs, I call up the social work department. And I said, look, me and Sophie broke up, and I'm coming back to Mississippi. I said, is there a job available there? And while I was on the phone in Philly, I had a lady say, you're hired. How about $45,000 a year, and get you at, how soon can you start? And I was like, fuck yeah. So I go down to Mississippi. I go back down to Mississippi, and I work for hot minute, a few years, and I'm working with sexually abused children, adult survivors of sexual abuse, and I'm fucking really, I'm learning like really how to be a good therapist, right? And so I meet my wife, and we start kicking it, and she gets pregnant, and then I have my good buddy of mine who I was working with in Mississippi. He moved out to Ogden, Utah, and he's working at a treatment center called Brighton Recovery Center in South Ogden. And so he calls me up, and I'm in Mississippi. Listen to this shit. So I had just bought a house when he starts calling me. I bought a foreclosed home for $40,000, and I'm like working my ass off, meet my future wife, dating her, and whenever I had any free time, I'm like YouTubing how to fucking rebuild a house, and I'm like rebuilding a house, right? And still super fucking active in recovery. Still, dude, I was a treasurer for my fucking home group for 7 years because nobody else wanted to fucking do it. And I mean, and I bought all, anyway. still super active. And so I'm doing all this shit. My buddy calls me. He's like, "Hey, we want you to come out here and work at Brighton." And I'm like, "Dude, I can't. I just bought a house. I have this woman. Can't do it." And he's like, "All right, all right." And then he calls me back 6 months later. "Hey, still got a job out here if you want to come." And then me and my girlfriend at the time, wife now, we're starting to get more and more serious. And I propose. She says yes. Yada yada yada. She's pregnant. I proposed first. Actually, well, anyway. But anyway, so I look at her and I'm like, "Hey, you want to move out to Ogden?" She's got 3 kids, and so we check it with them, and they're like, "All right, yeah, that's cool." So sell my house, make some money off of it, and then we move out to Ogden. I start working at Brighton Recovery Center as a therapist, and you know, I was working at IOP. Now I'm working in the monastery, which is the inpatient facility. And dude, every day is a blessing, quite literally. I have this. I teach these very specific sessions that I created, and it's they're called the Charlie groups, but and it's things that I think every person in early recovery should really know. And I walked into my group the other day, and I said, "Listen, this is how you fucking stay sober." I said, "If you do these things, I call them the 4 pillars of Charlie. If you do these things consistently, you will stay sober. Period. I can promise you that you will achieve long-term recovery. Long-term recovery is defined as 5 years or more. You will achieve that by research standards." And I said, "This is all you have to do." And I said, "And if you don't, if you are consistently doing these 4 things and you for some reason relapse, I want you to call me up and I want you to go, 'You're a fucking liar,' and then hang up." And I realized at this point in time, I'm like screaming at this group of people at the top of my lungs, "You're a fucking liar." And I walk out of that session and I think, there not a greater job in the world? Like, what other job can I stand in front of a group of people and scream obscenities all fucking day? And like, that's cool, you know? And, but beyond that, I mean, I could go on and on about the amount of people in my life that I've helped and that I've seen really get this thing. And it all starts from my job. So I love my job, dude. I love where I am in life. But on top of everything else, I want you to really know this. The most important thing in my life is my family. I have 3 step kids that I raise and that I fucking love. And I have 2 baby girls. I have a 2.5 year, about to be 3 year old, August 8th. And then I have an 18-month-old baby girl, 2 little baby girls, and they're the world to me, man. I hold them. I tell them how much I love them every single day. I tell them how much they mean to me. I have a wife who is sane and she's mentally healthy, and we talk and we communicate and we have great sex and we have a life and we have things. And I have I'm now living in my 3rd house that I have bought in my name since I've been in recovery. I have 2 cars in my garage that I own outright. I have a fucking camper trailer, $20,000 camper trailer sitting in my driveway. All right, that we go camping in. And I want you to know something. This is all coming to a kid who over 11 years ago was homeless, carrying his clothes around in a garbage bag with fucking nothing to his name. So that's my message of hope. It's obtainable for anybody out there. And thanks for letting me share.